This is Jaden's Videos, and today's video is so special as this is the first official build video for Nightmare House 2020, The Experiments. That is 100% correct. Happy September, everyone. The Halloween season begins now, officially, of course. And I could not be more excited. As you see behind me here, this is the cemetery archway from Home Depot because I did start decorating my house a couple days ago since it is now officially the Halloween season. As it's September, Halloween is next month. Can't believe we're already here, guys. It's so exciting that it is that time of year again. But I wanted to start out in the front because as last year with the first haunt build video, I want to show you the whole layout first. And though this is not a part of the haunt layout, it's just something I want to include as I included it last year. Now, of course, last year's haunt was Nightmare House 2019, The Dark Harvest. I hope you guys enjoyed that haunt, of course. That was almost an entire year ago. But I've got big plans for this year, and it's going to be even better than last year, I think, which is insane. And I'm so excited to take you guys along for the ride. This year's haunt theme is a laboratory. So it's something I've never done before, of course. I'm very excited to do it because I love laboratory themes. I'm very excited. Now, it's a mix between steampunk and sci-fi lab. So pretty much what that means is part of the haunt is supposed to have been built in the 1800s, and that's the first section of the haunt. It's supposed to have been built in the 1800s by the same mad scientist. He has become immortal. So in the 1800s, he built this lab, and it's more Frankenstein-inspired in the beginning, and it's more steampunk-like. Whereas the second half of the haunt is sci-fi-like, sci-fi-inspired, as he's immortal, so he lived a long time, and the second half was built in the 1950s. Now, you're supposed to be walking through it in the modern day, as he's just now opening his lab up to the public after hundreds of years, and you're supposed to be walking through it in the modern day, so you're going to be walking through the steampunk area that was built in the 1800s and the sci-fi lab that was built in the 1950s. So I think it's going to be really awesome. I am super excited. I'll get more into the story as time goes on, but Halloween season starts now, and Halloween itself is next month. So I thought it's about time to start the haunt builds. So come along. Let's take a delve into madness. First off, here's my outdoor decorations, which I'm not going to make a full video on yet. I'm going to have my full decoration video done when the decorating is done, and it's nowhere near done, so I'm not going to have that done yet. But just as I did last year, I want to show you guys where the ideas for the outdoor display. The outdoor display is not in any way a part of the haunt. It does not connect to the haunt. It does not connect to the theme. It does not connect to the storyline. The outdoor display is simply to draw people into the haunt on Halloween night. And last year, I showed you what I was going to put on the outdoor display, so I'll show you it this year. Now, last year, obviously the haunt was a farm theme, and it all went through the backyard. This year, the haunt is a laboratory, and it's going to go in the same area as last year's. It's just cut down a little bit because there's going to be more twists and turns and stuff, but it doesn't need as much space because it's a laboratory, whereas a farm needs a bunch of open, wide open land. So that's the deal with that. But here is what the outside's going to look like, what I'm going to tell you. So first off, obviously, we've got this cemetery section here. This is going to stay here on Halloween. I'm just going to add props like the Home Depot gravedigger and stuff to this. So there's going to be cemetery props all here. Like I said, the outside display has no correlation to the haunt whatsoever, nothing to do with the story or anything. The outside display is simply to drag people into the haunt. So I'm using a lot of props that are not going to be used in the haunt in the outside display because obviously I'm only using laboratory themed props in the haunt because ever since, my previous haunt years, I did multiple themes, and then I started doing multiple themes with one central theme. Ever since last year, I've only done one whole theme for my haunts. Last year's entire haunt was a farm, and you walked through the farm with each scene. You went to a different part of the farm. Same thing this year. I'm never going to do a haunt different from that from now on. They're always going to be one theme from then on because I really think it made last year so much better. So that's what I'm doing from now on. So the entire haunt is a laboratory. You go through different parts of the lab. So I'm not using any props that do not fit the theme. So the props that I'm not using in the haunt are going to go outside just to draw people in. So like I said, that's going to be a cemetery area. Right over here is going to be clowns. So I'm going to make like I don't know. I'm probably not going to make stuff for it because the haunt's obviously the big deal. The haunt itself is what I need to build stuff for. But I still hope to decorate this clown area and theme it and make it look good. I don't know where I'm going to put Krampus yet, because I'm not having that side of the yard have anything over there, because that side is kind of what leads into the haunt, because the haunt starts there, so that's the haunt facade. So I only want the display to be on this side, so it doesn't mess with the haunt theme at all. But Krampus might go around here somewhere just on his own. I don't know yet. I was going to put him on the roof until I found out how massive he was and realized that he's going to fall off if he goes on the roof, so that's not going to happen. Right here is going to be medieval section, so Arctic Dragon, Skeleton Knight. Right over here is going to be farm. So I'm only using a few farm props because I don't want to clutter my yard. I just want to make it look cool. So there's going to be Nightmare Harvester, Jack Straw, and the Butcher. Unless I get the Flaming Scarecrow, then he'll take Nightmare Harvester's spot. There will be nothing up here except for the Headless Horseman right behind the cemetery and farm right here. And then right here is a kind of a tropical area. I probably won't have any life sizes here, but it's already a tropical area in my yard. So that's what's going on there. So yeah, that's the idea for the display, but I think what I'm going to do now is get into the actual haunt. Right in the entrance of the haunt here, how this was the barn last year and it had the barn roof and everything, this year it's going to have laboratory walls right in the front there, and then it's going to have a big tower on the top, and then next to that tower is going to be lightning rods that I'm going to have synced up with some sound effects, so it looks like they're shooting back and forth. That's going to be done with lighting effects and sounds, so I'm excited for that. I also want to mention this video is being filmed on September 3rd, and I wanted to say that because it probably will be released a couple days after it's initially filmed, so I just wanted to mention that. But as you can see now, I'm in my garage, and my garage is a complete mess right now because I've been pulling stuff out to decorate and stuff, and I'm still not done, of course. But yeah, I've been pulling out Halloween decorations and stuff to decorate, so it's a mess, but don't worry, it'll be organized by the haunt. And if you remember last year, this was the barn last year. This year, this is the steampunk lab, so the main lab area. So basically, what the deal with this is going to be, if you remember last year, I completely blocked that off. That there was a wall here, so you can't see any of the storage space of the garage. And the haunt was only over here. That's what it's going to be this year, too, except this scene is going to be much longer, because as the barn, it was only one room, but this year, it's going to be multiple rooms, because it's a full lab. So that's what's going to be going on there. But the walls this year are not going to be black tarp. Instead, I'm actually making walls out of foam, which is why I'm doing this build video today, because I'm going to be testing that and seeing how that works. So I'm going to be making the walls out of foam, and I'll be carving them to make them actually look like stone laboratory walls, so I'm excited for that. But anyways, I can't really give you a good example right now, because as I said, I'm pulling stuff out, but right up here is going to be the entrance, and then you're going to walk in. There's going to be a corridor here. You turn there, that's like the victim room where the victims are kept for the experiments. Then you turn this way, and this is where the experimentation room starts. There's going to be a bunch of specimens and jars and stuff there. Sewer varmint's going to be on that table, and then you go this way, and this is the huge experiment room. So there's going to be a slab with like a monster on there, kind of like Frankenstein. Razor Tail's going to be in here. All sorts of stuff. And then the exit to this scene of the haunt is right but down this corridor, which is going to be the power room. So there's going to be big giant gears and cogs spinning with reindeer motors. Plague Doctor is going to go right on over there because I feel like he fits the lab aesthetic well. And yeah, that's what the deal with that's going to be. But I'm not going to stay in here too long because it is hot in here, because though it is September, so it's pretty much fall now. In Florida, it does not feel like fall. Let us now take our journeys into the mad mind of Dr. Albert Crane into the backyard, which is overgrown with plants. Yeah. But let us venture back here to show the rest of the haunt layout. Now this door right here, it leads out from the garage, so where the steampunk lab is. That's what that door leads out from. This corridor here is going to be the area with the zombie experiments, where toxic waste he is using to reanimate the dead. So this is kind of where it shifts to the more recently built lab. It's on the same grounds, of course, so they're connected. But this area of it is more recently built, 1950s as opposed to 1800s, so it's going to use a lot more electricity, neon lights. It's very alien sci-fi like, whereas that is more steampunk like, but it's still all the same laboratory. They're just built at different time periods. So here you're gonna have zombies, punctured Pete, some static zombies, toxic waste barrels, all up and down here. Gonna find a way to cover the house, because if you remember last year, this was the field of screams for the farm, and you can see the house in the background. I didn't really like that. But right here, this is kind of an empty space. Last year, the farmhouse was here. This year, there's not really anything on this side. There's gonna be stuff on the other side, but on this side, there's not really anything here. Last year, this is where the Rector farm started, and guests would go back there, and it was the whole main farm area with the windmill and stuff, and then it would continue on. You'd go to the sawmill, you'd go through all of this space here, the slaughterhouse. All of that's being cut out this year. And the haunt is going to be the same length. It's going to take just as long for people to walk through, because the indoor sections are being cut off into more corridors, like I already showed with the steampunk lab. But I don't want to use all this space because it's a laboratory, so it should mostly be indoors. There's only a few outdoor scenes. Most of it's going to be indoors, though. Whereas last year was a farm, so most of it had to be outdoors. This year, most of it's indoors, so all of this is being cut out. So don't pay attention to any of that. Instead, it's going to turn here. Instead of going this way, going all the way around the yard, it's going to turn here. So there's going to be a big UFO under this tree. I'm going to make a big UFO. Don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I got to do some more research into that one, which is why I'm starting the haunt builds a couple weeks earlier than normal this year, because there's so much more to do. But there's going to be a big UFO, and I'm going to get the Distortions Unlimited Alien Death and put it there. It's going to be a pretty eerie scene. It's kind of the transition here from the steampunk lab to the sci-fi lab. So I think it should be pretty creepy, kind of like Alien crashed in here. And it's going to expand more on why the alien's there in a little bit when they go into the containment unit and they learn that the aliens crashed, and then Dr. Albert Crane took them in as his experiments. Now right over here, like I said, the farmhouse was here last year, but it was facing that way. Guests would not walk in this area. This was an empty area. They would walk around that area. Now this year, guests are walking in this area to cut across here, so they don't have to go all the way around and then go to where the sawmill was last year. Now the containment unit is this year. This, where the farmhouse was last year, is going to be a scene facing this way. It's going to be a giant cage all the way around here, and that is going to be where Nightcrawler is. He is a lab experiment made out of fresh human corpses, and he is going to be breaking loose from his cage, so that should be pretty cool. Then you go into the containment unit, which is going to have a facade built on it. Now last year, for the sawmill, it was only that half. It was one room. This year it is huge, and it's going to be multiple rooms. So let's get into it. There's going to be a facade here, and on top of that, there's going to be a tiny UFO from Spirit Halloween, because Hauntformer is letting me borrow it from Spirit Halloween 2017. It's going to be crashed into the roof there with some fog coming off of it like smoke. And you're going to walk into the containment unit of Dr. Albert Crane. And this first scene here, don't worry about all the stuff that's around right now. I've been busy, as you can see. This first scene here is going to be the cold room, so it's where the frozen corpses are. And again, I'm using foam for these walls too, but they're going to be silverish metallic look, because it's more modern than the first half of the lab. But this is going to be where cryo chamber corpse and stuff is. In the back here is going to be another room where insects are kept, mutant insects, so an insect man, jumping bugs, stuff like that. This area is going to be the alien containment. So you're going to have Area 31, capsule, toe tag corpse, all sorts of alien stuff. And then, right along there, and of course all of this will be covered up with haunt walls, so don't worry about that. Right along there is the electrical room, so there's going to be live wires, and then Experimental Eddie's going to be right at the end. I'm going to have some cool strobe effects going on in there, and then you'll turn. And this is the main experiment room in this lab, where Miss Mercy's going to be as an experiment. Levitator Girl is going to be used as a static, like being autopsied on. A bunch of just weird experiments and stuff going on here. And then guests will walk out, and they will be in what I originally called the gardens, but then I realized it's not really a garden, it's more of a lab greenhouse. Because laboratories do have greenhouses sometimes to experiment on the plants, and in Dr. Albert Crane's case, he's experimenting on the plants to turn them into man-eating plants. So you're going to turn here. This is going to be the most complicated thing to build, I think. Last year this was the pumpkin patch. This is going to be complicated, because I'm going to build a PVC structure that goes in a triangular shape to make like an actual building structure. And I'm going to put clear plastic around it to look like glass. and the plants are going to be like breaking through the glass. There's going to be alarms going off. It's going to be pretty weird. I know not very many people do man-eating plants and lab themes, but I think it works well. It works well with my story mostly. But man-eating plants kind of became popularized from the Little Shop of Horrors. And if you have not seen that movie, the plant in that movie is actually supposed to be an alien. So that is why he's such an odd creature. So yes, man-eating plants are actually sci-fi laboratory-type monsters. Though they can be used in just traditional creepy gardens, their originating main thing that they kind of became popularized for Halloween and horror from is them being aliens. So basically that's the deal with that. But with that out of the way, let me get into some of the haunt creations I've been working on, which are in no way, shape, or form done. First off, there's this one. And this one has been sitting out here since April. I know, I worked on a prop in April. I only worked on one, don't worry. I typically don't start to work on the haunt until September, but I just decided to make one prop back in April because I needed it for the teaser. So this is Razortail. I know, my intro character. There he is. He doesn't look the best, but back in April was when quarantine was going on, so I couldn't really get out and get some good supplies for him. But I think he'll look good in the dark. So I did make him earlier this year. I didn't start making other things until like a month ago, because I always like to wait to work on anything for the haunt until it actually gets close to Halloween, because it's not as exciting to work on haunt stuff when it's not Halloween time, which is the reason that I start all my haunt builds in September, even just working on props, because I feel it's way more exciting to work on the haunt once it is the Halloween season, and Halloween is only a month away. So, well, 2 months from when this is being filmed, but eventually, in a couple weeks, it'll be a month away. But here's Razortail. He has seen better days. He's been out here for almost a whole year now. Not almost a whole year, no. He's been out here since April, so he's seen better days. But here he is. I'll do some touching up on him, but here is the Razortail prop. I'll get more into Razortail's backstory another time, but just know that he's very important to the story, as he is my channel icon now for this year. He's taken over the channel for this year because of how important he is to the haunt. He's got his Razortail back here, which has also seen better days. Yeah, I just didn't share this with you guys yet because I knew that he was the only thing I'd be making in the beginning of the year, and that I'd wait for the rest until the Halloween season. It's the Halloween season now, so now I'm deciding to share him with you because I'm going to be working on the rest of the stuff now too. Anyways, here's this thing I started a couple weeks ago, and it is falling apart because of the Florida humidity, but it will be fixed. I was never finished with it in the first place. I was definitely going to cut it to make it look a lot more rounded because it looks like a cardboard box right now. This is just the base prop. This is in no way even close to being finished. But this is a man-eating plant. That's going to be more what it's like when the jaw is closed, with the jaw has completely opened because the Florida humidity has warped it. But yeah, that's the biggest man-eating plant that's going to be in the greenhouse section, and he looks awful right now, but he looked way better a couple weeks ago. I still like his base and stuff. This is a remake of the one I made in 2016 for my garden scene in the haunt, except for this year, now he has a much more important purpose because he fits the whole haunt. Now this guy down here, he's kind of doing a backflip. He's not done yet at all. I've just got his frame and his first coat of paint on. This is going to be a steampunk robot. We're going to see how that goes. But this is another one of the experiments. He's very tall. He's just on the ground right now. I'm definitely going to do some fixing up of these guys, just not at the time because I do not... First off, I still need to make the head for him and stuff. And then the plant... I need to find a better way to get this to stay together without the Florida humidity ruining it. I mean, it's gonna be fall in a few weeks, so that humidity shouldn't be as prevalent. But it's still gonna be hot out because it's Florida. Usually we don't get our first cool weather coming in until mid-October. I know. Usually it's pretty cool by Halloween, but mid-October, like 2 weeks before Halloween, is before we get the first cool front coming through. So don't know what the deal is going to be with trying to keep him together until then, but we'll find out. But today, the most important thing is this, because I'm going to start the haunt walls. I'm going to start carving them, because I got a hot knife off of Amazon the other day in the mail, and I'm going to carve these. Now this first one is for the containment unit. As you can see, it's metallic. It's going to fit that well. So that's what that is. It, of course, it's going to have detailing. It's going to look rusty and stuff. This is just the base. And then these are going to be the laboratory walls. First, they're going to be carved. They have to be carved first to make them look like stone, to make them look cracked and all that. And then they're going to be painted gray. So I've only got 3 of those right now, and then 1 of these. I definitely need a lot more, but we got 2 months to stock up on some more. So follow me around and let's get started on carving this foam. That only took about 10 minutes, which is really good. And as you can see, there's a little mess ups and stuff, but that's fine, because after this is just so I have a basic layout of where to carve, and after I carve it, it's obviously going to be painted over. Some of these are going to be 2-sided, some are going to be 1-sided. I think I'm just going to do this side for now, see how it turns out, but I want this to look as Frankenstein laboratory-like as possible. So you can see some crooked parts. I messed it up a bit, but the great thing about Halloween is that when you mess something up, it just makes it look better. So yeah, if you get dirt on something, if you mess something up that you're making, it only benefits. So basically, yeah, that's the outline. So now let's get that heat gun and see what we can conjure up. And there we have it so far. I know you can't really see from this far away, but there's some deep crevices there. It looks great. It took a little bit, and this is only the first side of the first one. I need like 10 of these, and like 6 of them need to be 2-sided. But, you know, we got 2 months. I'm hoping to get all these done in about 2 weeks, so I can start working on props and such for the haunt, and then actually start setting the haunt up as soon as October comes. I like this a lot. You can see all the crevices and stuff in there. It's looking great. I really, really, really enjoy it. Okay, so it's been a couple days, but I'm still going to include this in the same build video because it's the progress on the same thing I was working on. Now this is clearly way different than you guys saw it just a few moments ago as you're watching this. Way different than it was before. Now the reason for that is because a good friend of mine, Mr. Halloween, go follow him on Instagram, subscribe to his channel most of all, but he suggested that instead of just having them be like square boxes like I had them, to round out the corners. And so I did that, and I thought it looked much better, but then I thought it would look even better if I detailed the edges and made it all corroded and stuff. So I did that. And now you can see it's a lot more detailed. Now, this is still only the first one, and Halloween is next month. So that's kind of concerning how long it took just one, because it took a couple days. Of course, I only worked on them for a couple hours a day, but still, that means it took about 4 hours altogether. But that's because you have to detail it. You got to get in all the little grooves and stuff. Let me give you a close look. Well, first I want to discuss my plan. So, anyways, these walls that are like this are only going to be going in the steampunk laboratory section of the haunt. This area, the containment unit section, like I already mentioned, is going to have the silver walls. So originally I was going to do 10 of these, front and back, but now I'm deciding to only do 6, and not even front and back. I'm doing front and back on one of them because I noticed I don't even need to do front and back on most of them, and if I did front and back, it would slice right through. So I only want to risk that on one of them. So what I'm going to do instead is I am going to do 6 of these because the other ones were for the facade. But I realized the facade can just be painted on stone. It doesn't need to be carved and everything because it's just the facade. I think the actual interior of the haunt is a lot more important. Though I do think the facade will still look cool, I don't need to carve out the whole facade. Because less people will be paying attention to the facade because they'll just be eager to go into the haunt, whereas when you're in the haunt, you're going to be paying more attention to your surroundings. So I think the inside of the haunt, I'm going to do them all like this, but that means I only need 6 of them, which is good. So that definitely takes away a lot of work. Also, I noticed, because I did this, because I first carved them out normally, and then I went back, and rounded them and did the corroded edges. It made it take longer. Whereas if I just draw them out with the corroded edges when I first draw the layout for it, I think it might take shorter because that's less work because I don't need to go back and do more stuff. So I'd say they're probably still going to take about 2 hours each, probably. But hopefully it will definitely speed things up because Halloween is next month, so I definitely need to get them done by then, of course. But I know that I'll have them done by Halloween. My biggest concern is I want to get them done by October 1st, because as soon as October 1st hits is when I want to start actually building the haunt, putting the walls up, detailing it and stuff. I want to have all the walls prepared and ready by October 1st, so I can actually start building on October 1st. So, there we go. There's that. I'm sure I'll get it done, though. I'm not too worried because it is still only the beginning of September, so I've still got some time. But without further ado, let's look at the detailing and stuff on this so you can get a better look at it. So as you can see, as I said, I corroded all the edges and stuff, made it look really nice, and I added a bunch of cracks, a bunch of just weathering effects in there since this is supposed to be from the 1800s, so it's supposed to have been here for a long, long time. So it's got a lot of cracks, a lot of just, it's just beaten up for sure. And near the bottom, it's actually more detailed because I started getting better at it, getting more creative with it. A lot of these actually are mistakes. A lot of times I just, and that, like I said, that's the great thing about Halloween is if you mess up, it just adds to it. Sometimes I moved the blade a little too fast or I moved it upwards and then it created a cut. And so I just added on to it. And you can't even tell that I made any mistakes because it looks perfect like this. I really like it. I really like the look. I think this is honestly one of my favorite ones. This whole area down here, how long that crack is, how it spans across quite a few. I think it looks great. I highly recommend if you're doing some kind of haunt that has stone walls to definitely do something like this where you carve into it. Now, like I mentioned, this is foam board. Now, I'm going to show it one more time. I know I showed them earlier, but I'm going to show them again what this originally looked like before I carved into it. It was just this. Just basic foam. Just like this, just basic foam board. You can get these at Lowe's and Home Depot for about $14 each. And it turned into this, and I'm happy with it. I'm super excited. I can't believe Halloween is next month, and I'm super excited to finally be starting the haunt build. So I hope you guys enjoyed this haunt build video. Stay tuned to so many more throughout the season. The season is just officially beginning, as it is September now, and the Halloween season, I say, goes September and October. Just as the Christmas season goes November and December, the Halloween season goes September and October. So, it's officially the Halloween season now, so I'm super, super excited. Stay tuned to so many more videos coming your way as we approach Halloween, which is only next month. That's right, guys. It is almost here. I'm super excited to start the haunt builds. I hope you guys are excited for Nightmare House 2020, the experiments. I truly believe it's going to be the best year of the haunt yet. I'm super excited to share it with you all. I hope you all enjoyed. Keep howling at the moon, my werewolves. Here it is standing up against a tree so you can see the height of it. This isn't the full height because as you can see it is bending a bit, which is a little bit concerning. But it is very tall. It's 8 feet tall, 4 feet wide. So that's definitely going to take up a lot of wall space in the haunt, just one of them, which is very good. I think it looks much better standing up. I like it a lot. There you go. Still needs to be painted, of course, but I'm glad that the carving is done on the first one, and hopefully the carving can be a lot faster on the other ones with a different technique. Keep howling at the moon, my werewolves.